Hello, everyone, and welcome to Western Exploring Physical Wellness, a theory to practice intervention for college student personnel 597 and 598 by me, Ariana Nutile. I'll go ahead and get started by introducing myself. Again, my name is Ariana Nutile, and I use she, her, hers pronouns. I'm currently a second-year graduate student in the College Student Personnel Program and serve as an Assistant Complex Director within University Housing and Dining Services. For this intervention, we were tasked with finding a gap that in our student success and a way to create a program and/or intervention that was able to fill the gap in order for students to be more successful during their time on campus with us. When I began reflecting on my own experience, I realized that we often do programming and provide resources for our first year experienced students. However, we have a population of transfer year experienced students who are looking for similar resources because they are new to our institution. Thus, I created the intervention idea of Welcome to Western, a way for transfer students to explore physical wellness. Physical wellness in the 2020-2021 year has become something that is incredibly important to me. I realized that while working on my physical wellness, I was also working on my mental wellness and creating connections in a social way with my peers. So the idea of this intervention is to be able to create community and connections through multiple campus resources such as the Recreation Center, the Student Development and Success Center, and of course, our friends in residence life. If you see up here, you can tell that there is a link for a website. This website has all the details you will need when it comes to the intervention. It's broken down into subcategories that I will go through throughout this presentation, but is also available to you via the PowerPoint if you click on the link, and you're easily able to access each of the links. So to start, let's talk about some of the learning outcomes for this intervention. My first is for students to attend who are able to demonstrate 5 new exercises that promote physical competency. My second is for students in attendance to be able to list 3 resources that are available to them on campus that promote physical wellness. And lastly, a way for them to be able to identify at least one way to incorporate physical wellness into their personal goals. So let's talk about what this is like. What we're going to go over today in our presentation includes the overview of student population, which for this intervention is transfer students, the implementation and outline of the program. The third section will cover the assessment plan, and the fourth section will just be a Q&A if you have any questions. To start, we will go over the overview of our students and the students' needs. So again, we're talking here about transfer students. As I was researching about transfer students and their success on college campuses, I discovered that 1/3 of students who start at 2-year public institutions and 13% of students who start at 4-year public institutions finish at institutions that are not the first institution that they're enrolled at, meaning that our students are constantly transferring to different institutions during their time in higher education. And that can be for many different things. Some students transfer for financial reasons, maybe they weren't making the connections that they needed, or maybe even the institution doesn't offer the program that they would like to go into. However, we do see that this student population often receives less support and resources, which can create additional barriers for them as they're trying to form relationships with peers, participating in different programming, and their overall sense of belonging at their new selected institution. Again, I know we often do a lot of programming and provide a lot of resources for our first year experience students, but for me, it's super important that we do the same thing for transfer year experience students, for they're new to our institution too, and I know that we have the resources that they're looking for in order to stay involved and engaged here at Western Illinois University. So, talking again about student needs, these students are looking to build connections and to socialize with each other. So, what better way to do that in a collaborative effort with offices on campus at the heart of our campus at the Student Recreation Center? These transfer students are often feeling unheard and unseen at their new university, and my hope is that this intervention will allow them to be seen and heard and to learn about campus resources and maybe make some friends along the way. So now let's talk about what the actual program is. That's probably what you're thinking. Welcome to Western. What could that possibly mean? Well, I've designed this intervention in order to create physical wellness and also for them to incorporate it into their daily lives. But something that was really important to me was that our students didn't feel like they needed any kind of additional or prior experience in physical wellness or even in physical education or working out in order to be a part of this program. I know that was something that made me not want to use the recreation center for a long time because I felt like everyone there already had a plan and knew what to do. And I kind of felt alone in that. So the hope of this intervention is to make sure that our students know that we're all learning together, and that's part of the social aspect of this intervention. So a program breakdown. First, we just start with an introduction and a brief presentation. It's really important that while this intervention, is fun and social, that we're also making sure that we're educating our students so that way they're leaving this program not only feeling like they can use the recreation center again, but they're aware of their resources and how physical wellness is incorporated in their mental health and also their academic success as well. We want to keep our students healthy and safe, and this is a great way to do so. Then we'll go into a small workout where we'll set up and have a workout session together. And lastly, we'll close out the intervention, recap what we did, and ask any additional questions that they may have. So let's start with that introduction and brief presentation. So this is a small introduction and brief presentation that will be short in time. It'll only be 5 to 10 minutes long, where we introduce the staff members that are present. I would love to see the resident assistants of the transfer year experience floor be there, the director of residence life, the director of the SDSC, and the director of the rec, and even maybe some grads. I would love for them to introduce themselves so they're familiar faces to our residents. Then we'll talk about what does physical wellness mean to them. This can have many different definitions, and so we'd love to hear their lived experiences. Then, if they're willing to share, we'll talk about how often they're currently using the recreation center. Maybe some of these residents are using them very often, while others of them could not be using them at all, or this may be their first time. Also, we'll talk about how they can incorporate physical wellness into personal goals, whether that's weight loss, weight maintenance, maybe strength training, or just overall physical health. We can find ways to incorporate that into their personal goals in everyday life. And lastly, we'll touch on some ways to connect after this intervention is over. We don't want this to be a one-time thing, and we hope that there'll be friendly faces in the recreation center often after this intervention. Here is an example of the workout and setup. Again, I would strongly encourage you to click the link that's below the iPad to see the different reps and the different high or low impacts that are available for this workout. This workout is offered in both high intensity and low intensity to make sure that it is accessible for all students. I also recommend that there be a disability trainer with the intervention on the staff to make sure that anybody who is in need of or additional requirements is able to participate in the intervention. So again, we work through 15 reps with 30-second breaks in between, and we repeat throughout the entire program. The program is set up and designed to be about 35 to 40 minutes in length, but can also be shortened and lengthened if needed, depending on the time and the length of the program. I think it's really important that we make sure that we are getting everything that we can out of this program and that the trainers feel comfortable doing what they need during the program. Lastly, we will close up and recap of the intervention. So it's really important that we sanitize and put all of our equipment away, that we're able to pass out our resource guide that you will see at the end of this presentation, that we have a Q&A session to ask any questions that they may have, and that we share out and complete a post-intervention survey. That share out can happen live, it can happen via email after the intervention, or they can write down their thoughts and comments in the post-intervention survey. Either way, their feedback is super important to us, and we want to make sure that this all happens in a timely manner and that we follow up with each of these students to make sure that if they have any clarifying questions or additional resources that they need, that we provide those to them. Again, this intervention is scheduled to be about 60 to 65 minutes. And so the closing recap will take a short 5 to 10 minutes because we really want the majority of our time spent going through each individual workout with our students and finding ways to make sure that they are successful during our intervention and even after. Physical wellness is also about competency and making sure that you're not hurting yourself while you're performing these exercises. So next we're going to talk about section 3, which is our assessment plan. So this is how we're going to assess the program after it has been completed. So we're using 3 tools of evaluation for this particular intervention. These include being able to demonstrate the activities during the duration of the intervention using a tally sheet, sharing out those lived experiences as a community during the intervention so we don't feel as alone. And then lastly, like we just talked about, that post-intervention survey. Here's an example of the tally sheets that I recommend being used for both the high and low impact version of these tally sheets. Again, someone as if a trainer or a resident assistant or a staff member of the Rockies Rec crew will go around and make sure that our students are properly demonstrating each one of these exercises during the duration of the program. If students are able to complete the same exercise twice, they are considered to be competent in that area. These can be printed out and even given to the residents after the intervention is over so they can reflect on what that means and maybe see if they would like to come back to the recreation center, where they can improve, what they could watch videos on YouTube or on Instagram, or maybe even ask a friend who was at the intervention too. Maybe your friend was great at bicep curls but needed some help in arm circles. Those are different areas that we can help each other out in. Next, we have that sharing out that I talked about. Lived experiences are so important. And so this activity is challenge by choice and is only if you feel comfortable sharing. And it's talking about being able to name 3 ways that you can incorporate physical wellness into your daily life. For me, that's promising myself every day that for 30 minutes I'll go to the rec center. Or maybe it's that you work out twice a week, or that you'll just come back one more time before the semester ends. Any way to find ways to incorporate physical wellness into your daily life, in my eyes, is a win. And then there's that post-intervention survey. You'll take a few minutes just to talk about your experience with the Student Recreation Center, University Housing and Dining Services, and Student Development and Success Center. After that, we'll read all of the responses and then give those feedback to the departments, but also reach back out to our students and check in how they're doing. We could even ask in 6 to 8 months how they're doing or if they visited the rec center since the intervention. I think it's a great way to stay connected to our residents and be friendly faces. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to have designed this intervention about an area that I'm super passionate about. Again, physical wellness has shaped my life and who I am today in the last academic year, and I'm so thankful to have a resource on our campus such as the Recreation Center. And I hope that we can help our transfer students feel more successful on our campus by not only promoting physical wellness, but social connectedness and also mental health. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. My contact information is listed here. You can email me at am-nutile@wiu.edu or call my work phone at 309-298-3122. Or Last but not least, I strongly recommend you check out the Google site made for all the details and step-by-step instructions on how to put together the intervention. You can find that at sites.google/welcome to Western. Thank you so much. Here are some additional resources that I have for you all, including some marketing material to get flyers and social media posts for the intervention, and also a one-page guide to physical wellness and resources on campus to be given to our students post-intervention. Here are my references to make sure that theory to practice was considered during this entire intervention. Thank you again. I'm so excited, and welcome to Western.